let's get started. So, we're back. I guess I'll switch it to face mode for a second. Getting some coffee in me because it's almost 11 here. It's been a lengthy day, but I did get a little bit of research done. Figured it was worth doing a quick stream at least. I was studying Make because it seems like the biggest pain in the ass is getting everything kind of compiled, especially when you've got larger projects with tons of files. So I'll obviously show examples here in a second, but basically Make makes that a little bit easier by setting up build scripts that kind of do all of the, or some of the hard work at least for you. Theoretically, that's how it's supposed to work. So that's kind of what I've been studying today. I also wrote a little bit of C code, learned how to compile on Arch to Windows, which was fun. I had done that before, but it had been a while. So I've got a development environment on my laptop, both for testing and for building and for coding. So that's good. Obviously, we'll be doing everything on my desktop now. Let me turn the music down a little bit. So let's talk Make. So Make is fun. Make makes things a lot easier, but Make's syntax is a fucking nightmare. So let me pull it up so you can actually see what I'm talking about. This is like a dead simple Makefile. I've only got one file in here, main.c. All it does is return. I guess we can include a little bit of... I'll include that. And so let's go ahead and printf follow me on Mastodon. So I'm going to go on a rant on this here in a little bit, but I'll save that. I've got a Mastodon profile. You can follow me at the link in the description. I am not leaving Twitter. I am spacing myself from Twitter a little bit, but I'll save that rant for later. Let's talk Make first. So Make, you've got a Makefile. Basically, the way it works is you issue one command, make, and supposedly it compiles your whole program all at once. That is not a big deal when you have just one C file. So I can go ahead and show you. GCC can be as simple as main.c out to main.exe, .exe, and it pops up. Could be that easy. But if I've got 1,000 different files, or if I want to create the object files at the same time and save those in a different folder, or if I've got to compile everything in like a very specific order, then it kind of starts to get to be a pain in the ass. And you want a Makefile to kind of make that a little bit easier. So let's open up this Makefile and kind of break it down. So the first line is basically, or the first target actually is what it's called, I think. The first target is what's going to get run first. So this is main. Main is looking for main.o. So basically what Make is going to do is it's going to say, okay, we're going to try to run main, but in order to run main has a prerequisite, which is main.o. So what it's going to do is it's going to search throughout the rest of the file and try to find main.o, or a target called main.o. Okay, it finds it. So main.o is right here, and it says, okay, we're depending on main.c being somewhere. Okay, main.c is here. So it's going to go ahead and run this command, gcc-c main.c. And what that's going to do is we can go ahead and show it, gcc-c main.c. And this is going to create main.o. Now that main.o is created, then this one can run. It's got all of the prerequisites, so it runs gcc main.o -o main.exe. And obviously we already had that. So it all works kind of on these like prerequisite chains, which again, it can be a pain in the ass, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second with respect to like the really annoying syntax that it's got. So what you can do with this syntax, and what I haven't done because this is kind of simple, is don't know. Okay, so pound signs are comments in Makefiles. So instead, we could say anything. So we could do main depends on anything.o. That wouldn't be a great way to do it. Let's just say it depends on main.o. We'll just hard code that the same way. Main.o -o main.exe. So far everything's the same. Now we're going to write a rule that says anything.c, okay, and it just depends, well, no, anything.o, and it just depends on anything.c. And then if we've got that, then we're going to do GCC $, oh man, I'm trying to remember this correctly. It's $@ yeah, I think so. $@. And basically what that's doing is it's going to go ahead and compile this. We need -c. It's going to go ahead and compile the C file right here. So it's basically saying anytime you see a C file within this structure, you can go ahead and run this command and it's going to create a .o file. And we can go ahead and hard code the output to, well, no, we can't do that actually. Let's not worry about that. Let's see if this runs. I was trying to do this correctly earlier. GCC, oh, well, let's just do make. Nope. Okay, wait. This was annoying too. Make. Did that work? Like first try? Okay, let's remove this. Ooh, not the C file. There's no way that worked first try. Because I was trying forever to like make this make sense. Yeah, I didn't figure. System cannot find the file specified. So maybe it's got to be, it's either at or that. Nope, that didn't work either. Huh. Anyways, that's the way it's supposed to work. Basically, it's something that I need to dive a little bit deeper into, but you can frankly, for a while, just depend on this. And basically, you just keep creating these chains. So let's go ahead and create a helper file. So let's do helper.c, and we'll create a header file, includes .h. So helper.c is going to have a void function that's just print, let's just do print Twitter. And it's going to print my Twitter account. Follow me at Valhalla Dev. Okay, and it's not going to return anything. This is dead simple. Include standard IO. So let's say we've got this helper file and we want to statically link this stuff together. Okay, it should theoretically be simple. So we're going to create our header file and we're going to say we need void print Twitter. We don't need to worry about anything else. And in our main file, we need to includes.h. Should be good to go. This is okay. Semicolons. I'm a Python developer, so remembering semicolons is fun. So let's go back to our Makefile. And within our Makefile, we're going to have to change some things around. So in order for main.o in order for main to be created, it has to be linked to the helper.o. So in order for the helper.o to be created, helper.o, we need helper.c. Stop autocompleting. GCC-c helper.c. And now we need to create this helper.o, main.o, and helper.o. Now you can kind of start to see why Makefiles can save you a hell of a lot of time. Make still doesn't work in my console. So if we do that, let's actually go back to main.c and let's do, what is it, print Twitter? Yeah. So let's run both of these. And I think, let's do that. Let's go ahead and make them. We got it, main.exe. Follow me on Mastodon and follow me at Valhalla Dev. So what we did there, like marching through the Makefile again, is we've got our first target, which is main. It depends on main.o and helper.o. So in the beginning, and we're going to create our clean target as well. In the beginning, you don't have those .o's. So it's going to look for the .o's, say, okay, we can't find it. And then it's going to look for a target for main.o. Main.o's target just depends on main.c. And we've got main.c, so we're good. So we're going to go ahead and compile that. And the output of this is going to create main.o. So this right here is basically checked off. Then it's going to say, okay, we can't find helper.o. Here's the helper.o target. This object file is the target. And it just depends on helper.c. Well, we've got helper.c. So it goes ahead, compiles this, creates helper.o. Now, both of the prerequisites have been satisfied. So now it can go ahead and build main. And it's going to go ahead and link these two objects together, create our executable. And I mean, you can go as far as you want with this. Now, this clean right here is super useful because in order to make sure that our Makefile works and that we're compiling correctly, we want to get rid of all of those object files. So we've got 2 object files and an executable. So instead of like going through and deleting those every single time, because again, you're going to end up with tons of these object files, you can just do make clean. And you're golden. So that's a lot faster. And again, it's like all of these are essentially like shell commands that you could be running on your own. You could be running them in a Python builder. I think I've seen people use batch builders and Python builders before. I want to say Handmade Hero uses batch files, but I might be wrong there. But Make works, and it's got a really, really ugly syntax that I hate, and I honestly don't know if I'm going to end up switching to something else, but I guess it doesn't really matter all that much. You know, for right now, we're just creating like very simple stuff. All right, I promised a rant, and I've already technically done this rant. I guess I could pull it up. So, obviously, Elon bought Twitter last night. That was kind of like a big deal. Let's go to my blog. I'll link to this in the description somewhere. But I have changed over, not changed over, that implies that I got rid of my Twitter. My Twitter is still very much here. You can still follow me. But I have started kind of starting to move my online identity over to Fediverse stuff. It's something that I've been interested in for quite a while. So stuff like Mastodon, PeerTube, things like that, because it's cool and it kind of scratches my like anarchist crypto utopian kind of like itch. But for a while it wasn't necessary and I was lazy, so I didn't bother with it. Now, you know, things kind of changed because Twitter is looking to become a much worse place to be on the internet. I know a lot of people are huge fans of the takeover. I am not. So I've kind of scooted my identity over to Fediverse, just more than anything kind of as a an attempt to make social media a more useful place to be, to like publish research and talk to people about interesting things, because Twitter is kind of quickly not being that. So that's the extent of my rant. If you want to read more of it, I'll post the blog, and I guess I could do the description. Let's see. I'll go ahead and pop it in chat for all 0 people here. What's up, Mod? So that's kind of my like mini rant on that. It's not a big deal. I haven't gotten rid of like anything at this point, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. All right, let's pop back over to C. Enough of that rant. So I did do something else. What is this doing? I did kind of start poking around at doing DLLs. DLLs are fun because why does it keep doing that? That's weird. DLLs are fun. There's lots of different things that you can do with DLLs within the context of malware. So I kind of practiced with generating those. It's not like that hugely different. The compilation is like slightly different. It would change the Makefile a little bit, but that's not that big of a deal. But basically, here's my development setup, because that's like the most interesting thing. I've got this victim VM set up. This is the same one that I was using with Wolf. Let's see if I can find where. So Wolf is saved over here. I'm calling this Wolf 2.0, even though in the last video I told you it's not going to be Wolf 2.0. It's going to be like a tool set. So you can see it here. And the cool thing that shared folders does is I can literally just do make. So come on now. My mouse is just being obnoxious. Make. It's like I've got control held down or something. Make. So we pop out with main.exe, and if we pop over here, because it's a shared folder, I've got main. So I can pop on over with the command prompt, and I'll go ahead and just throw it on desktop, because I don't want to bother trying to find that location. Or maybe I won't. What is going on with my mouse right now? Let's do copy, paste. There we go. So let's go over to desktop, and we should have main.exe right there. Follow me on Mastodon, follow me at Valhalla Dev. So it's the same exact executable. I'm just outputting to a shared folder, and that's basically how I've been like propagating my malware over to my test site. So that's going to be how we do it for a while. How I learned C to just build malware. Yeah, so honestly, I haven't found a super big use in C aside from reversing malware or writing malware. It's nice, it's useful, but honestly, I wouldn't say like start Googling, how do I write malware in C, even though that's how like most of my viewers get here. I would highly recommend actually learning C and actually learning programming fundamentals instead of just hopping right over into malware development. I am a staff level software engineer. I write software for a living in mainly Python and JavaScript. That's not a brag. That's me saying I'm already good at writing software and I'm shit at C. So I don't want to focus on just like writing malware, because that's not going to get me any better at C. And if I don't get any better at C, I'm not going to get any better at writing malware. Like it all kind of like mixes together. Basically, if you're not a good dev, you're just not going to write good software. That's just kind of how that works. So I would say if you want to write malware in C, I hope you're doing it for the right reasons. I'm just going to leave it at that. I've gone on the ethics rant 1,000 times. But if you want to learn how to write good malware, learn how to write good software, and then write malware with it. I mean, malware is just software with a different application. That's literally all it is. So I would say start with like projects. Learn. I'm a big believer in learning how to build software with projects and not just tutorials. So like get off of my channel ASAP. Think up a couple of projects, or while you're listening to me, think up a couple of projects. Start writing them in C. Start writing them the opposite way in C. Start doing like code battles, and like those are cool, but they're super impractical. Those aren't going to teach you how to write malware. They're not going to teach you how to write much of anything. But again, just approach learning how to write malware in C the same way that you would approach learning any other like programming language for any other reason. Like that's kind of how it is. And become a good software developer, and then go on and write malware, or go on and write operating systems or whatever. Like you'll have a good foundation for it. But I don't know. That's might be a little bit ranty, but that's kind of how I'm approaching it now. I did approach it earlier I approached it as I'm going to learn how to write malware in C. I did not approach it from I'm going to learn how to write C, and I ended up writing shitty malware. Now I'm kind of going back and having to like kick myself to do it better. So yeah, I guess TLDR, if that makes any sense at all, just become a better software developer, or write better software and understand the language from like the ground up, understand what the heap and stack are, how to allocate, how to clean up memory, why you should clean up memory, things like that. Types are lots of fun in C. If I'm writing Python, I can go ahead and do example.py.op.py, and I can just say x equals 7, y equals 7, and I can do print x plus y. Now, this is going to freak out, obviously. Python example.py. Obviously, it's not going to work, but it's not going to work at runtime. It's not going to show me that it's not going to work until I actually try to run it, which is problematic. If I hop on over to C, and I do main.c, and I do int 7 equals 7, and char string 7c is equal to 7. I try to add these together. I don't even know what's going to happen, honestly. 7 plus 7 underscore c. Let's see what even happens here. Let's do make. That compiled? No. That shouldn't have compiled. I don't even know what this is going to do. Make. No, main dot. Oh my gosh. Huh. Good. What the hell? That is interesting. There's probably something cool and a lesson to be learned there, but I don't know what it is. Huh. There's probably some memory fuckery going on there that I don't want to play with at 11 o'clock at night. But yeah, basically the point being is the errors are completely different. Like side by side, you're going to be dealing with errors at runtime in Python because it's not a compiled language, it's an interpreted language. Am I compiling the wrong one? I don't think so. Let's see. Make. No, that's the right one. Yeah, it's just doing funky shit. Resources for C. Yes. Let me find you resources for C. Do you like books? Are you a book guy, Yayati? Because there's obviously the what's the one like God tier book that everybody says that they've read but nobody's actually read? Let's see. Books for C. Yeah, so this is the big one. It's kind of the one that like everybody who writes in C is going to recommend you. So I'll pop a link in chat for that. It's like basically the fundamentals of C, how it was written, how to write it, how to get good at it. You'll probably end up mastering C if you read through this book and like actually understand it. I think it's generally referred to as Kernighan and Ritchie's book. Like it's that kind of notable, I guess. So there's that, and really, again, like you can read tons of these books. I've got I showed this one off on the last video, but I've got Windows Internals. This is 6th edition, part 1. You could drop just tons of money on that. I'll drop links to that one. Internals, 6th edition. Why are you not using MSVS instead of Visual Studio Code? I'll explain that in a second. Promise. Y'all are giving me lots of rants to go on. So here's Windows Internals. What's cool about that book is It's all about Windows internals. No, I'm not going to stop there. Windows internals is all about learning like the operating system, understanding how it's developed, all of these, kinds of other things. Um, it's a great book. It's a great reference book. And that's the mistake that I made and that tons of other people I know have made, is that it is not a book to like just read through. It's a good reference book. And that's why I'm going to go back to learn through projects, learn through actually writing code. Don't just sit there and like copy paste from Stack Overflow or like watch a tutorial and just sit there, twiddling your thumbs and following along line for line. That's not going to be how you learn. You've got to like actually do projects. That's why, frankly, some of the best software developers are game developers and game hackers, because they don't think like, oh, I'm going to become a good engineer. They think I'm going to build this thing. I'm going to hack this game and just, spin bot everybody. Or why is that book not in stock? That might be a bad link. Don't click that link. So there's part 2. Yeah. Huh. I don't know why that link's bad. Anyways, all of the game hackers and all of the, the game developers all have these projects that they're building out. And that's where engineers go wrong so frequently, is they're just like, I'm just going to become a good engineer. And then they get stuck in tutorial hell and like they don't get anywhere, and that's why a lot of engineers end up failing, or a lot of would-be engineers end up failing, is because they focus on becoming a good engineer. Theo, a web developer, put out a really good video on that. Let me find it. But basically, he's saying the exact same thing. Stop getting stuck in tutorial hell. Stop, just assuming that you can. Here, I'll just actually show my screen. Stop assuming that you can just, like watch tutorials until you like learn it. This guy right here. This is a great video on this subject. And like just go out there and write code, because you're not going to learn any other way. It's just, it is how it is. You can read through all of Kernighan and Ritchie. You can read through all of Windows internals and memorize the whole thing, and you'll be okay at understanding some of those concepts. But like, don't pretend like you're going to be a good like engineer unless you're engineering things. Like that's kind of how it works. Learning C without understanding the basics or fundamentals of the OS is useless to learn malware dev. To learn malware dev, yes. To learn software dev, probably not. I mean, a lot of like C-based stuff, like game development specifically, there are wrappers for the Windows API, for example, to where you don't ever have to touch the Windows API. You don't have to really learn it that much until you do. So there's kind of asterisks to all of these things, and I've learned not to make broad sweeping generalizations around basically anything, but especially in software development. But with malware development, yes, you absolutely need to know the operating system, because you're going to be interacting with the operating system. Like that's like your bread and butter. Mahat, I'm not ignoring your question. Can you make live videos in other times of the day? Let's talk about that. So right now, I'll be just blunt with you. I am making a grand total of 0 monies on YouTube. Like, none. I don't have a Patreon because I don't really feel good asking people for money when I'm not like uploading very frequently. But I am like 3,000 something public watch hours away from actually being able to monetize my content. And even after that, I'm not going to be making a ton. I'm not worried about that. I'm not upset. But that means that I've got lots of other things going on that actually put food on the table. I've got a full-time job that I really enjoy a lot. And I've got, businesses and side gigs and fun stuff like that I'm getting started up. So until that situation changes, I can't justify like risking like either asking my boss or just kind of like going full YOLO and streaming during work hours, which would be like 9 to 5. After work hours, I can do. Problem is I've got 2 kids, so I can't just be like, hey, I'm going to go write malware for a bunch of strangers in the middle of the day. you take the kids, honey. It's not going to work out very well. Not for me, not for them. Nobody's going to enjoy that. So here's how I kind of view a lot of things, and it sounds kind of like a douchey approach. If I can't justify the amount of time that I'm spending on it in some kind of like hourly pay basis, I'm much less likely to really like push for it. And that's not because I'm just focused on the money. That's because that's the way I kind of have to view things with kids, with a job, with, you know, all these like ambitions that I've got that I want to do. I've got to somehow justify all of the different things that I do, because I've got tons of different things that I do. I do some things for fun that are either like no cash flow or negative cash flow, but there's 24 hours in a day and I've got to sleep like 4 or 6 of them. So all of that is to say, I'm going to try to make these streams at like a better time. I'm going to try to figure out when I can put them, because frankly, I can justify them a little bit because I'm not having to edit these. Like literally, the last stream that I did yesterday, day before yesterday, whatever, it's performing better than any video that I've done, and I've put like significantly less effort into it. You know, I don't prepare for these much. I mean, I did a good bit of research on Make and things like that just because I wanted to learn it, but you know, I'm not having to edit any of this shit. So like it's the perfect way for me to do content regularly, but I do have to find the time for it, and that's the difficult part. So I'm going to be doing more malware dev stuff if I can keep streaming like this. The streams are like super helpful because I can kind of like chill with people in chat. There's no editing involved, which anybody who's followed me for any like period of time knows that I absolutely despise editing. But yeah. All right, let's get back to dev stuff. I hope that answered your question somewhat. But I will be trying to move these streams to like a better hour of the day. It's just not going to happen like immediately. So let's make clean real quick. So we've cleaned up a little bit. Let's go ahead and get rid of example.py. So we've got I've got a couple of things that I want to make. I want to make the back end at some point because I just enjoy working on back ends in general. But there's got to be like some kind of front end. And I told Stream, on the last stream, that I was going to focus a little bit on the initial stages of like intrusion. That's going to include things like embedding within documents, which I'm going to have to learn PowerShell for, which really sucks. And trying to figure out a way to embed into PDF files, which is lots of fun, and like real malware devs do that. I'm also going to do like browser download stuff. I mean, there's a billion different ways that you can do it. So let me say, I'm actually going to test something out real quick. Let's do make. Keep forgetting I can't do make in that terminal. Make. So we've got main.exe. Let's see what happens if we just change this file name to .pdf. So it changes the logo there, shockingly. Let's see if it does it over in my Vic here. Yeah, it does. Okay, so one of the things that used to work all the time, and probably still does work, honestly, is Windows will just take whatever file extension that you've got and just go ahead and assume that it's right and display the icon for that file extension. So this is an executable that has an icon for PDF. Now, if I try to open it, it obviously doesn't work. There are, or at least were, a lot of different ways to get around this, to where basically it would show the icon for a PDF, but it would run like an executable. If I go over here, let's see if this works. Main.pdf. Yeah. So if I run it through the command line, it runs as an executable, even though it's got that PDF. Like it basically like reads through the real file type, or parses the real file type, and will run it as an executable. If I double click it, then I think it's going through a different process. So like there's some badness right there, you know, like a very simple level of badness, but you know, Windows likes to make things very easy for malware developers. But I do want to do like some more like complex stuff. I thought about doing like looking up to see if there were any like drive-by download type vulnerabilities that I can like work through on a vulnerable system. Right now I'm using, I think this is like a newer Windows 10. So I'm not gonna like live stream a 0 day, even if I could find one. That would be leaving a lot of money on the table. But that's gonna be the next step. I'm going to, now that I've got a build environment set up, which I do. It's a clunky build environment, but it's a build environment. Now that I've got that set up, what? Oh, there's no exe. Remove .pdf. But all of the other ones should be removed, right? Yeah. Okay, so now that I've got a build environment set up, I'm going to do some research into embedding in those files, doing that initial intrusion work stuff. And basically what I did for RE last time, and I'm going to continue doing that this time, is I'm just going to kind of like pretend that I'm emailing this stuff in a way that like kind of makes sense by just copying it over into that shared folder because it's easy. So why not keep doing that? So that's going to be one of the methods. I'm going to kind of like cosplay like it was a real phishing attack. I might at some point like actually do a phishing attack just to kind of see if Gmail's actually got fairly decent virus filters. So I'm thinking about like testing it out through that. And also through like VirusTotal and stuff like that. But that's well on down the line. I'm gonna focus on embedding, learning PowerShell, and then the next stream we'll run through that. Mahad, Yayati, everybody else who showed up, I appreciate it. Y'all take